What's up? My name is Hannah Shively, and I am a music education major at the Dana School of Music in Youngstown. And today I would like to teach you a little bit about a program called Chrome Music Lab, which is what you're looking at right now. This is a Web 2.0 tool that was created in 2016 by Google Chrome, and it was created to introduce and reinforce music and sound concepts. Now, from the look of it, you might say that this was geared towards younger students, but as I explored this today, I noticed that a couple of these concepts are a little bit more advanced and you might be able to get away with using this up until about sixth or seventh grade. So what you notice from the get-go is that it's free, it's simple to use, it's accessible, it looks like it's super interactive, and it's bright and it's colorful. So let's go ahead and look at the About section. I'd like to point out a couple things down here. A frequently asked question is, do I need to make an account? And the answer to that is no. All you have to do is open up any of the experiments above and you just start playing around with it, which is super exciting. Another thing I'd like to point out is that you can use this program on any device. You can use it on a phone or a tablet or a laptop. You don't even have to have Google Chrome itself. You just have to have a web browser. So currently I'm using this on a laptop that doesn't have Google Chrome, but it's still working beautifully. And that's something that's exciting because sometimes in your music classrooms, you might not have a smartboard or even a computer. So what you could do is bring in your own iPad or ask the school for an iPad or a Chromebook to use. That way you can still introduce this program to those students. So how about we go back up here to the experiments, and we have 13 different areas or concepts that you could introduce. So if we go down here to the bottom, select strings. Now, unfortunately, the program that I'm using to record myself doesn't enable you to hear what I hear at the same time. So if you want to check this out on your own time, you could hear some of the things that I'm showing you today. What I'm doing, I'm going to grab my mouse here and I just scroll across these strings, and it's playing me the pitches of a 6-string guitar. Same thing with down here. So let's say even on an iPad, all the student has to do is drag their finger right across it and they're able to hear those pitches. So it's something fun, something interactive for them to do. Go back out here and check out, how about oscillators? Now these guys are little monsters, and all you have to do is give them a mohawk, and what it's showing us at the bottom is the frequency value. So this is incorporating science, basically, into a different content area such as music. Something fun for them to do. And again, that has more colors and shapes to it. If we look at Melody Maker, this is something that doesn't really require any previous knowledge about music. So you don't have to know anything about pitches or rhythms. All you have to do is click these boxes. So this is something that any kindergartner through fifth grader could do. Super simple. So what I just did was create a major scale, and all of these go up diatonically. So I did do through do if you know solfege. Now I'm going to do is hit play, and it's going to play these as 8 notes at about 120 beats per measure. What I can do here is drag this and change the tempo. So maybe someday, let's say you have students in a fifth grade band or orchestra, and you have a student that says, hey, what would this particular tempo marking mean? And sometimes in music, you're going to see things that don't look normal, and it's because they're either in Latin or they're a big word and they have all sorts of accents on them, and a student says, hey, what's up with that? So let's say you have a word like adagio, and a student says, what does that mean? To me, I think it means a walking tempo. So I could scroll this down to this particular character that looks like it's walking. And this could provide that student with a good framework or reference point of what a good adagio and tempo feels like. Let's say you have a kid who wants to know what allegro sounds like. About 120 to 130 is a good allegro. If we scroll the sucker all the way, you could use that as an example of what vivace feels like. Now let's look at this other tool down here. I'm going to click this. It's going to double our squares, and this is going to show us an example of what harmony sounds like. So it's playing the same notes in thirds of each other. And that's another concept that you really don't have to teach the students what the exact notes are, but they can hear a melody line and a harmony line in the gray squares. Go back out and look at something different. How about sound waves? Something that might be fun to show your students is a YouTube video of cymatics, which is basically music and pitches creating different ripple effects in waves in water. So what I did here was just play a couple of notes, and it's moving those around. Let's zoom in here and just look at what the waves do. So just something fun for them to look at and to be able to hear those pitches. And they may not have ever seen a keyboard before, but this is a good way to show them what happens when a pitch changes. That something's happening to the frequency and that the waves are changing. Zoom back out here and check something new. How about chords? Now let's say you're teaching a general music education class. You might not be getting to the point where you introduce chords just yet. Maybe you've taught a couple of notes, maybe you've taught them what a major scale is, but you haven't taught them about chords. What you could do, you select any key and it's going to give you a triad, so it's going to form that kind of a chord. What you could do is ask your students to describe what they just heard. So if I play a D major chord here, maybe a student would give you the adjectives such as happy or bright or colorful. If you scroll this over, what we play an A minor chord. Maybe they'd say sad or melancholy. They're able to incorporate adjectives into what they're listening to. Let's go back out here. Rhythm might be something fun to use as well. If you have a general music classroom, maybe you've introduced rhythm through clapping. So you've done exercises with whole notes or half notes, or you've done maybe like ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, something like that. So this gives us a visual up here with the animals of what happens when we select these. And this plays an example for us. So if we scroll over, we have 4 beats here. This is giving us a syncopated rhythm. This gives us 5, which is an irregular meter. And this gives us 6 beats. So something fun for a student to look at. Now let's look at Songmaker. This is a much more accessible version, kind of an equivalent to something like Noteflight or MuseScore. Now what students are able to do is create songs on here. So all they have to do is select those boxes just like we did in the last example. Now what I just did here was write the first couple of notes of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So what if you wanted to create a composition sort of a project for your students? Let's say you wanted something student to student where they could collab with each other. So you have a student write out an identifiable melody. They don't have to know the notes. They just have to hear the pitch as they click it and write it out. We can go to settings if you wanted to change the length of the bars, if you wanted to change the amounts of beats or the scales that we have in here. You could do that as well. Now what's cool about this, I'm going to show us all of those. We can hit save here and copy this link. Let's say you wanted to have a student send it to you. You can open this back up and see the project that they made. So it's super exciting and a cool way for them to be able to write something without having to know about music notation. That way younger students can feel like they can compose something too. Cute. So just something fun to look at. I hope that this was informative, that it taught you more about this program, and hopefully you're able to incorporate it in your own music classroom.